Hello and welcome to the Big Purple Blob Morning Show. This podcast is hosted by 6 professional family life and wellness coaches who are passionate about helping the American diplomatic community thrive through their unique challenges. We are also eligible family members with over 100 plus years of combined experience living abroad. Trust us, we know what you're going through. So relax as we share some practical advice mixed with foreign service acronyms, empathy, wisdom, and a bit of humor.
Good morning, people. I am so glad that you're here with us again today for another episode of the morning show with the Big Purple Blob. Today, it's myself, parent coach Angie, and also we have Susie Brown. She's our expert wellness coach that we have on board with the Big Purple Blob. Today's episode is on self-care and particularly extreme self-care, and we're going to get into that. But first, we're going to do a quick check-in with each of us. It's just Susie and I, but I'd love to see how Susie is doing today, especially since our episode is on self-care, and it's important to check in on people. So Susie, take it away let us know how you're doing lately.
Oh, thanks for asking, Angie. I am okay. We are juggling a few extra tasks because we have to, although we're not moving to a new post, we have to move houses. And so all of the packing and sorting and kind of unexpectedly, we have to deal with that. And kids are still distance learning, so we are struggling with that as well. All of us in our own rooms. I had honestly thought that we would all just be sitting around the table and enjoying each other's company. That is not at all the case. How about you, Angie? How are you doing?
Well, it's amazing how, you have these expectations or things start going a certain way, right? And then you're like, boom, you're moving. You have to pack up all of your stuff at the same post because Susie, you're in Sri Lanka, right? Mm-hmm. So you think, I'm here for a good couple of years, things are settled and whatever's happening. And then boom, you have to move. It's in the same country, but yeah, life kind of throws us stuff, right? And we were just chatting before we started this episode about how I thought, when the kids are young, things are busy because the energy is flowing all the time. So I have 3 girls. And I have twins, and then my younger one is 2 years younger than them. So 16, 16, and 14. And I thought when they were younger, that energy was driving me crazy and, making me tired. But now that they're teenagers, I don't know if it's because we just are coming out of the closure of everything because of the pandemic and everything's ramped back up and friends and going out and doing things safely, of course, but school that's full-time in person and sports that's full-time in person. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm just so tired. Mommy's tired from you doing volleyball. And so it's important to really step back. And when all this stuff happens, when you have to move mid-tour or when your kids have this crazy schedule that you're dealing with, it's probably even more important to just sort of step back and think, what am I doing? Let me sort of regroup myself and let's look at self-care and what am I doing to make sure that I have the energy to go through all of these bumps along the road as things are thrown at me throughout life.
Yeah, it is challenging though, isn't it? I mean, the idea of self-care kind of feels almost a little selfish because, of course, it's all about me here, right? But it's not, because if you aren't investing the time and energy into taking care of you and returning energy to you, then there's not going to be energy left to give to your families, right? So I think that's one of the things that parents struggle with when they become parents and their responsibilities and tasks and must-dos increase so much. You spend all of your time and energy taking care of other people, so it's hard to imagine then cutting off a chunk of that time and investing that into yourself. But investing into ourselves isn't a selfish act at all. It's actually a way of tending to our needs and investing energy into the things that help us to restore our energies. And it's important to remember that even a car can't run without some sort of maintenance, right? And that's an inanimate object. We are human living organisms, and we can't give all of the time. We have to take some time to restock.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that when we think of sort of that idea of self-care or taking care of ourselves, the first things that pop into mind are the common, whatever brings you joy in a moment, and the common things of bubble bath, practicing yoga, and doing things that take care of our physical bodies. And then we're starting to get an idea and an understanding and appreciation of the connection with our mental health and our physical bodies, and understanding how all of that works together, and understanding that, when we think of self-care, it's like, how do we keep our bodies well taken care of, like that car, right? How do we maintain things? And when things start going awry with your physical self, it's easier to notice that, you're gaining weight or losing too much weight, or your acne is starting up, or a rash, or certain things, or if you're not doing daily self-care, you smell, you start getting cavities, and that's part of self-care as well. But when we look at our mental health, the ramifications aren't as quick, and they're not as obvious in the common sense of that word. And so it's sometimes forgotten that you need to take care of that mental aspect of who you are, what you need, and how you can go about your daily life, and how you can go about that in the strongest, most well way possible.
Yeah, exactly. So what you said made me think of a couple of things. And I think most importantly, it's important to remember that what works for self-care for one person doesn't necessarily work for other people. And what maybe helps me to feel mindful or to check in with myself maybe doesn't resonate with someone else. So there's that individual aspect, but also continuing to check in with yourself as you go through the different phases and ages of your life. Your needs change. And especially with the way we are with our constant moving, maybe what's available for you at one post isn't necessarily available for you at another post. So you have to redefine what works and what doesn't work. It's very individual, and it's very dependent on where you are in your life and what phases you are in your life. It might be something like you've suggested some things, but maybe it's an art class or a chance to learn a new skill. Maybe you're gifting yourself some time to journal at the beginning or at the end of your day. Maybe it's getting rid of your bathroom scale so you can stop worrying about what the numbers are saying. Maybe it's not drinking alcohol any longer. Maybe it's taking a break from reading news or checking social media. I mean, all of these things feed into different parts of our mental and our social and spiritual well-being. And all of that is connected. So it's, as you said, if you see something going wrong physically, it's easy to notice that, but you don't always notice maybe if something needs attention in your mental or spiritual wellness aspects.
Susie, I'm so glad that you brought up the idea that, because we're doing this for foreign service families, right? And so that idea that it is individual specific, but even within that individual, it's sort of environment, or it can be post specific, right? So what you did in Vietnam is you're not able to do in El Salvador, my two posts that I loved, but you have to, one big thing, and that's part of my own self-care, is this idea of reflection and really digging deep down and saying, what do I need right now? And how can I achieve that? And what's going on right now in my life? And so, yeah, if you found a really great yoga class, for example, when you were in Vietnam, or a random post, and that really spoke to you, it really helped you to feel connected, and it really raised awareness on what you needed and you did great things. And then you go to your next post and you don't have that class. So that's hard, right? Because it did so much for you back then. But if you can take away parts of what exactly was it about? Was it the idea of community? And you won't be able to rebuild that same yoga class that you had at your last post, but perhaps there's aspects of it that you really feel like that's what I was getting from it when I really reflect on it. It was that sense of community, or it's something that I can start it myself, or it was the actual physical act of doing yoga. And I can find another yoga class, or I can do it independently at home from videos or whatever it is. But it's really important to really understand that though, right, Susie? Because it's okay that you had this great self-care routine at one post, but then the next post, something's a bit off. So take that time to, even that idea of reflecting and understanding what your needs are, that's a form of self-care, because you're really looking at what it is that you actually need, and then seeking ways to help yourself to feel fulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. Regularly checking in. Not quite the same thing as checking in with your doctor regularly, but you know yourself best, and you know if your needs are being met, and you know if maybe just something isn't quite right. Maybe you're regularly asking yourself, am I happy here? Am I feeling satisfied? Am I feeling as though I am meeting the needs of others? Am I feeling as though I am meeting my own needs? Regularly checking in. That's how you know if something's working and if something's not working. So I read something actually in our health unit. They had a little thing on one of the cabinets, and I thought it was really interesting. True self-care is not soft baths full of bubbles and chocolate cake. It is regularly making the choice to build a life you don't need to regularly escape from. And I thought that was really interesting because it's choice after choice after choice of what we're doing for ourselves, and then in turn doing for our families. Because if we take care of ourselves, if we put the airplane mask on our own face, then we are able and ready to put the mask on those around us.
Right. So Susie, let's go back to that conversation we had in the beginning. What are you doing for yourself at this moment, or around this idea of, geez, I thought I had this routine going and now I've been thrown in a loop. So I have to move house at post unexpectedly. What are you doing? If you could reflect for a minute, then what are you doing to sort of take care of yourself around all this? Because at those points of like high stress moments, we could lose it, right? There's so much going on, and having that mentality of I need to take care of myself in order to get this going smoothly. I'm curious if there's anything specific that you do.
Well, I mean, we're pretty champion movers, having moved, I don't know, 17 times, I feel like, in our foreign service career. Not that many countries, just that many houses. What am I doing now is, we have the opportunity now, which we usually do, like just generally at the end of the school year, we will go through the stuff, get rid of stuff that's too small, outgrown, worn, or whatever, and just regularly just get rid of it, not save it. Maybe we'll need this another day, whatever. So we're taking that opportunity to do that now. It's a little early. And the other thing we're doing is we're getting all of the stuff organized, which we're quite good at organizing, but we're also planning for our first fun event that we're going to have at our new house. And we're really excited because we actually really like the house that we're in now. It's quite lovely. It's in an amazing location, but there's no space to entertain. So we haven't really had any parties while we've been here, which is highly unusual for us. Usually we have like a couple a month, if not more. So it's really exciting to be able to look forward to having people over and imagining what the space will look like when they're there. And that's really motivating, I think, for all of us.
I love how you said it. Well, first of all, I love how you said that you're champion movers because you've done it so many times, and that you're a great organizer and you kind of know what to do because you've had all of these moves. And that in itself is a form of self-care. You're acknowledging your strengths and you're working along those. So you know that whatever comes your way, you've been through it before. You have this feeling of, I know how to organize. I'm a champion mover. And so you know your strengths, you know how to power forward through all of this. And so it's fantastic to acknowledge that. Because I think sometimes, and I think especially for women, we sort of don't want to say, congratulate ourselves or say what we're fantastic at. We sort of meander and the sort of, well, I guess I'm pretty good at it because of such and such. But when you have these and you acknowledge these strengths, then you can really feel empowered when you're going forth in a big project or in a big move or in a big whatever thing that you're currently doing in life. And so it's fantastic to hear those words coming out of you. And for me, going through my sort of chaos with 3 teenagers right now, I think I really, I feel like it's brand new since we had so much downtime. We had so much close family time over the last year. And now they're teenagers going out more, doing more things, involved in more activities. And, my 2 16-year-olds are juniors in high school. So a lot of things outside and a lot of just a lot of clubs and things like that. And so anyway, we don't have that lovely community of the Foreign Service family overseas because we're in Falls Church, Virginia right now. And so we don't have GSO if something goes wrong with the house. We don't have the CLO to sort of lean on. And so we're sort of doing this independently now. So it's a lot of new things for me. And so the deal is with me is really that idea of reflection. What have I done in the past that really got me through whatever challenge I had? And now, how can routines really play a part in how I move forward? And what kind of rules do I need in how I move forward? So everything that the girls do, they have to put in the calendar so that I know what's going on from day to day. And we have things that are non-negotiables like meals together. We have, certain things that we do together as a family that can't change. And that idea of saying no, like I can't participate in this. I can't do this because right now we need to focus on our family. And so that's how I sort of get through any challenges that sort of come my way. And there's been a lot in the last few weeks.
So 2 things, Angie. I know you are, I know you're an excellent mom, but I also love how you have those non-negotiables because that's so important to the super glue of your family. And you want to make sure that you stay connected, even if, they're trying to, find their own way and find their own feet, but how important family is. And so you're encouraging them to stay connected. But then the other thing that you said, you are probably one of the most kind people I have ever met in my life, but you always find the good in everybody else. And I think that is another thing that is really important with self-care. It's so important to encourage other people, especially other women, but primarily other primary parent figures, to take the time for self-care and to help them, even if it means, hey, I'm going to the pool. I have 3 kids with me anyway. Let me take your 2 as well, or whatever, like just to help them out, because sometimes people need that little encouragement or that little push in order to focus on themselves. And I think that is so important to help people really take the time and give them the opportunity to take care of themselves.
Susie, how about we end with, if you have sort of one piece of information, I hate to use the word advice all the time, but something to share with a parent who might be listening, who's like, this all is great. And I know self-care is important. I know how to do something, but what if that in itself, this idea of self-care seems or feels a bit overwhelming? Where might, or if you can even reflect on when you sort of started this idea of intentionally having better self-care, where could someone start in your thoughts?
That is a really good question, Angie. And I think I want to give a general answer, but it's so dependent on the age of the kids, right? And how comfortable and confident that parent is feeling. But you know what I think is one thing that can help almost every single situation, no matter how stressful, and that is getting enough sleep. And I think that doesn't necessarily sound like a self-care sort of a thing, but we are often, as parents, staying up late because, we want to have some us time after the kids go to sleep, or getting up early because we have all of these work tasks that need to be done, and we still have all of these home things that have to be done. And there's just no time during the day when the kids are awake. When we shortchange our sleep, everything feels more tiresome and troublesome, and it amplifies and exacerbates every feeling of maybe a scratchy throat or your allergies or whatever. Everything is exacerbated by not having enough sleep. And I think we are all much more calm and centered and focused and probably positive if we have enough sleep. What about you, Angie?
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. I mean, that's the number one, right? And sometimes I ask questions without actually thinking what my own response would be. And I knew you would throw it back at me. But I agree with you in that sleep is important. And I think sort of looking to see where you might feel, and I hate to start with something negative to think about something that should be positive, but the idea of where you're feeling deprived then, right? Because perhaps you are getting enough sleep, but you still feel like something's amiss. And so where do you feel that gap? Like, do you feel like you don't have a sense of peace? Do you feel like you don't have emotional support? Do you feel like you don't have enough time to yourself? Do you feel like your physical well-being is not being taken care of? And so, like you mentioned earlier, in today's show, sort of everyone is at a different spot in their lives, and wherever you are, you could feel completely different. So while one person might feel like I need more peace in my life, I need more time to myself, just sort of looking at and sort of that idea of reflecting and saying, what's happening and what's different now that wasn't, where can I find that happiness? Where can I find something that really pulls me in together and makes me feel whole? And that can't happen until you really ask yourself and dig deep. And I think in our busy world, especially as things start to pick up and get busier, it's easy to just keep going, and so you sort of miss out, or, you cover it up with consumption, or, you're drinking or doing something outside of yourself that's not really giving you enough time to really focus in and dig deep and to look at what area do I really feel like I'm a little bit deprived in? And then how can I go forward with that? Would be my initial thoughts anyway, Susie.
I love it. Well, thank you all for joining us for this conversation about self-care. I hope that we've inspired some moments of self-reflection in yourself, and we can also inspire you to take some time for your own self-care and know that it will indeed actually make you a better parent.
Thank you for listening to the Big Purple Blob Morning Show. It has been a pleasure to share our stories with you today. Now we want to hear from you. Tell us your story. Let us know your biggest challenge that you face at Post or back in the States. We also want to know what type of parenting support you need at this time. To connect with us, visit our website at thebigpurpleblob.com. If you found today's episode helpful, please share with your friends in the American Mission community. And remember, we want to hear from you, because we are here for you.